Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to do another deep dive episode, but before I get into that, I got some VCLT in the mail from my good friend Brandon. You know him from his awesome channel, Mr. Hall of Fame. Just hit over 8,000 subs. That to me just blows my mind. It should blow your mind too. 8,000 subscribers. Holy crap. I know he's one of the earliest members of the VC, but still, that is just an amazing number. Brandon is so very generous. As you know, he sent me a number of records over the past year. And this was one that I knew he was sending me, so it was not a surprise, but I am so appreciative to Brandon. This is Graceland by Paul Simon. Finally got this one on vinyl. Have the CD, but this record has eluded me, so I really appreciate it. It is on the Warner Brothers label. And you guys, of course, anybody, whether you're a Paul Simon fan or not, you know, you can call me Al, of course, with the famous video with Chevy Chase. But anyway, thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. Happy to expand on my Paul Simon collection. So the deep dive that I'm going to be doing today is by one of my favorite singer-songwriters, and I'm talking about Elvis Costello and his album, Mighty Like a Rose. So I'm going to show you what I have in different formats of this particular album. And I'm going to start with the first format that I got this record in, and that is the CD format. Now, this is the Rhino 2-disc expanded version of this album. Like most of the other 2-disc versions, you've got some outtakes, B-sides, demos, things like that. And that's the second disc there. And the booklet has extensive liner notes by Elvis Costello, just about the history surrounding the making of this album. This is my cassette version of the album. Got the same liner notes, basically, that the original album had, but not the commentary, obviously, because the Rhino was a reissue. And then the last format that I have this on is vinyl. This is a music on vinyl repress, and it is on gold vinyl. Very cool. And I love when they come with these, the outer sleeves, the resealable outer sleeves. It didn't come in the shrink wrap. You got the hype sticker right on the sleeve that they gave you. I prefer this to the shrink because, number one, I don't have to buy a sleeve, and number two, the sleeves that they do provide are pretty good quality and will last almost for the entire life of the record. So this album was released in 1991. It was the follow-up to his very popular 1989 solo album, Spike, and it was the first time on Spike that Elvis had collaborated with Paul McCartney. The song, which ended up being a single, Veronica, was a collaboration between Paul McCartney and Elvis Costello, as was Baby Plays Around. And there may have been one other, Pads, Paws, and Claws, maybe. I'm not recalling, but at any rate, that was one of my favorite Elvis Costello albums. And then in 1991, T-Bone Burnett had produced the Spike album, and Elvis Costello switched up producers. This time, Mitchell Froom was going to be the producer. And Elvis Costello at this point was kind of tired of the whole Elvis Costello persona. He was tired of being, Elvis Costello kind of pigeonholed into that quirky new wave genre that he was a part of with the Attractions. And so couple things that he did. First thing that he did is he grew his hair out and grew a beard. Can't really tell from this photo, but he had like hair down to his shoulders and he had a beard. Just didn't look like anything like the original Elvis Costello. The second thing that he intended to do but wasn't able to pull off was he wanted to credit this album to his birth name, Declan McManus, which is Elvis Costello's real name. But the record company was like, nobody's going to buy a record by Declan McManus, especially not with you looking like Jesus. So the record company, I believe it was Warner Brothers. Yeah, Warner Brothers won out and said, no, it's going to be an Elvis Costello record. He said, fine. And he put out this record, which is really not that dissimilar to the style that he employed on Spike. You've got some brass instruments. You've got a number of different genres that he plays within here. And you've got 2 more collaborations with Paul McCartney, Playboy to a Man and So Like Candy. So Like Candy is definitely one of my favorite tracks off this album. So the album opens up with The Other Side of Summer, which is very much kind of a homage to the Beach Boys. Got summer in the title, but this is sort of more an apocalyptic type of summer. Instead of the fun and the sun themes that the Beach Boys would lyrically employ on their records, this is a little bit of a darker side to summer. And it sounds like classic Elvis Costello. It's, you can hear the Beatles influence on it and the Beach Boys influence, but great opening track. And I will say, when I first got this record, I was like, immediately, I'm selling it. I don't like it. For whatever reason, I don't know why. When I first played this album, I hated it. I'm like, this sounds nothing like the Elvis Costello that I'm used to. It just didn't connect with me in any way. I listened to it, and I was just very underwhelmed. And so my first impression was, God, this album sucks. But having grown up a little bit and listened to it a bit more, I did rebuy it and fell in love with it. I think it is a fantastic Elvis Costello album. Might even be top 5 for me. I do like it that much. Hurry Down Doomsday, The Bugs Are Taking Over is kind of a bit of an aggressive song. You got interesting drum beat there. How to Be Dumb is another typical Elvis Costello kind of mid-tempo rocker. All Grown Up is a bit of a ballad, sort of a string-laden ballad, as it were. And, Elvis Costello is trying to, stretch his vocal style a bit more, trying to sing with a little bit more emotion or whatever, what have you. But that's kind of another thing that is a bit interesting about this album. Invasion Hit Parade is great. Heartbeat's Bazaar, After the Fall. Yeah, this is a darker album. All the themes on here, there's no kind of light, haha sort of music on here. It tends to be darker subject matter. Side 2 opens up with another bouncy track, Georgie and Her Rival, which, kind of harkens to some of Elvis Costello's late 70s stuff. So Like Candy is another ballad. Again, this was co-written by Paul McCartney. And I love the melody of it. It's just sort of a soft, it's really a bit like Baby Plays Around or some of the slower songs that Elvis Costello will sometimes do. Then you got an interlude, Couldn't Call It Unexpected number 2. I'm not sure what happened to Unexpected number 1 or Unexpected number 3, but you've got Couldn't Call It Unexpected number 4 as the last track on here. Playboy to a Man, again, sounds like what it is, a collaboration with Paul McCartney. Sweet Pear is great. Broken was co-written with his wife at the time, Caitlin O'Riordan. And yeah, solid Elvis Costello album. Again, it's sort of the son of King of America, son of Spike, almost like a trilogy of albums. And I know you had Blood and Chocolate in there. So I guess it's really, it's kind of along those lines as well. So yeah, it was sort of like a more mature Elvis Costello, creeping into a little bit of the pretentious area with some of his lyrics. But I do enjoy this record a lot more than I did when I first picked it up. But yeah, if you're into the whole King of America, Blood and Chocolate, Spike, you'll definitely enjoy this album. And, he kind of abandoned this approach for his next true studio album, just Elvis Costello studio album, which was Brutal Youth. So, that was the follow-up. But Anyway, that is my deep dive into Mighty Like a Rose. One coincidence that I hadn't really thought of until I was making this episode is Paul McCartney had an album called Red Rose Speedway with Wings, and you got Paul McCartney on this album. I don't know if there's any, if that's just a coincidence or if there was any connection. But nonetheless, you got some mighty good songwriting on here. So anyway, take care, everybody, and have a great one.